Okay.
Um, I am I am a politician, and I don't do slides anymore.
Great.
I was somewhere where I was asked to introduce myself. When I introduced myself, I said, my name is Kingsley Moghalu, formerly an intellectual, currently a politician. So, but anyway.
I think that, thank you. You know, as a way to start this conversation, leadership,
yes.
we have the topic that is exciting, and you want to be speaking to us on leadership. What role do followers play? I think as a form of introduction is that a whole lot of people seem to know about what leadership is all about, but they don't seem to understand what followership is all about. You are going to help us to unpack this and how does it matter? Someone has said, if you say yourself you're a leader and then you look at your back, nobody's following, that means you're just taking a walk in the park. So why does followership really matter? Once again,
thank you.
You can go on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Tunde. I'll speak for a few minutes. I'd rather spend more time on the Q&A. I'm speaking to you from my village, in my hometown in Nnewi. The electricity has just failed. Wow. My boys went to get diesel for my generator. They are not back yet. Wow. So I'm talking, so I could not, use my computer. So I'm speaking to you from my phone. But this is just par for the course. It tells you, it illuminates the failure of leadership in Nigeria to give us a comfortable modern life that is enjoyed by many societies around the world, where nobody is talking about power failure as a constant. Nobody is talking about a life spent buying petrol and diesel for generators, the toxic fumes and their health implications for Nigerians. In many countries of the world, people have moved past this. And we are living in what is effectively a stone age compared to many countries in the world. And we think we're actually in a part of the 21st century. We are not. My vision as a presidential aspirant is to take Nigeria into the 21st century, because we're in the 19th century.
Because we can't, okay, we can see you now. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that, yes, there is a failure of leadership, but why is there a failure of leadership? There is a failure of leadership in Nigeria because the followers have failed. The followers have failed to do their duty as followers or as citizens. Let's use the term citizens. You started by saying that if you look behind you and you can't see anyone and you're a leader, you're simply taking a walk in the park. Yes. And that's a very, very apt way to begin this conversation. Followership matters for a number of reasons. Followers matter because without them, there can be no leaders. The definition of leadership presumes that you're leading people in any unit, whether it's your family, whether it's in a school, company, business, government, in any sphere of life. A leader is somebody who can envision, somebody who can mobilize, somebody who can inspire, somebody who can, move a unit, whether it's a family or a country or any unit, from the present state to the future state that is better and improved from the present state. And in that context, a leader must be able to take also calculated risks. You see, there are many ways of taking risks, but you can take reckless risks. That's not leadership. Calculated risks means moving from a place of comfort and, what we are used to something that we're not used to, and trying to mobilize people to come along with you in that vision and to give you the mandate to lead them there. So that's what I mean by calculated risks. And calculated risks lead to, when they work out, they lead to economic transformation. They lead to political transformations, China took a calculated risk in 1978 when Deng Xiaoping said, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white, so long as it catches mice. What was he saying? He and the Chinese Politburo were taking a huge calculated risk in moving the country from a socialist or communist economy into capitalism, because they found that China was a huge country, but that socialism and capitalism was not leading it to be competitive economically vis-a-vis the Western nations. And they had an ambition, they had a vision to move China to the top of the totem pole in world affairs. And they had to execute a transformation because over the years they had observed the capitalist mode of production and allocation of resources, the marketplace. And they saw that whatever the propaganda that they and the Soviet Union were using in the years of the Cold War, the capitalist societies were doing much better. And so they decided, but they would maintain their own unique circumstance by maintaining a communist central government, but not a democracy in any real sense, but they would execute reforms that would move China towards capitalism. That's what you call state capitalism today. It's an oxymoron, but it has worked because somebody took calculated risks. That's leadership. But you see, for leadership to work, like I said, you have to have followers. Followership is also very important because they have to hold the leaders accountable. How is a leader's success measured, if not from the impact of leadership decisions on the lives of followers? The productivity of the company, the economic development of a country, the GDP, whether or not there's economic transformation like China has executed over the past 40 years. So the people matter. Followers also matter because we're in a democracy. Democracy is defined as government of the people, by the people, for the people. Is that what we are practicing in Nigeria today? No. What we have is a government of politicians, by politicians, for politicians. So you have a political elite, a cabal of a very few people, and they're in different parties. They're not just in one place. We have two major parties in Nigeria today, and you find the political cabals there. And this is just a game for them. It's a game whereby they use democracy to legitimize themselves in power. And they do turn by turn, but they live in the same house. They use the same dining room. They use the same living room, and at night they may go into their different bedrooms, but it's the same house. That's what we have today in Nigeria's political elite. And the reason why democracy is not working in Nigeria and has been turned on its head is because, again, the followers are failing in their duty as followers. They are not holding leaders accountable. They are not exercising the first principle of citizenship, which is that the office of the citizen is actually the most important. The leader is a servant. The leader is not a master, but the masters are the people. That is the followers. But our citizens are not exercising this role. So this is why I thought we should discuss a little bit about followership, today, rather than just bashing leaders, leadership failure, leadership. We know that leaders have failed in Nigeria, but I want to sort of go to why they are failing. They're failing because the other side of the equation is also not pulling its weight. And that side of the equation is actually the most important. Because if the citizens exercise their responsibility, their duty as citizens, then the leaders will either perform or get out of the way for new leaders to emerge. So the followers themselves also have to understand that leadership does not belong to a class. Leadership resides in all of us at all levels of society. I'm in my village now in Nnewi. There's a local association here, and it has a chairman. In my village, and you come into every family, there's a family head. So leadership is a universal concept. And in our country, many of our citizens are disempowered to believe that leadership is something that belongs to a class, an elite class, and that they are just followers with no say. Then followership is also compounded by the problem of poverty in Nigeria. But why are we poor? Why are our people poor? Again, we come, yes, you can say our leaders have failed. It is the duty of leadership to lead societal transformation. But where it fails to do so, you find that the people, the citizens, the followers, step up into a leadership role where they create either a citizens type of revolution, democratic revolutions, the kind of things we saw in some of the former Soviet countries, the kind of things we saw in the Philippines, the sorts of things that we have seen in various places in this world. You know, the kind of what we saw in France that ended the monarchy and created, you know, a modern French society. It's the people, because the leadership failed. And Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake. And the people said, no more, we've had enough. And the people moved. Why is it that the citizens of Nigeria seem unable and indeed unwilling to move and bring about leadership performance from Nigeria's political leaders? Why? There are many factors, but one is that, of course, there is a complete absence of a national philosophy, a national vision, a worldview of who we are, where we're coming from, where we're going. It is the duty of leaders to create that worldview, because that's what unifies a country beyond the things that divide it. Every society has fault lines. There's no society that is perfectly unified. If you go to America, racism is a big deal. There is the northern and the southern sides that have somewhat different cultural values, you know, which also stem from what led to the American Civil War, you know, and things like that. But everybody in America who's American is united by the idea of America. You know, the shining city on a hill, God's own country. But that's because the founders of the American Republic created this vision consciously. The reason I'm seeking to be president of Nigeria is to do this same kind of thing in Nigeria. So, and I'm going to talk in a minute about my leadership journey, because I also want to be very personal about this, not just a theoretical discussion about leaders and followers. Okay. So Nigeria's people are suffering from what Paulo Freire wrote in his book, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. There is a very advanced form of oppression that is working in Nigeria. And many of us are victims of oppression. And that includes a lot of us in this room who have gone to school, who have university degrees, top professionals, wealthy young people. You know, many are doing well, well-read. People have gone to school, but many of us are not educated. There's a big difference. That's why the pedagogy of the oppressed is working in Nigeria, because our minds are colonized and we have not liberated ourselves. Let me give a classic example of the pedagogy of the oppressed. You come to a Nigerian and you say, I'm running for president. He says, oh, what party? APC or PDP? You say, no, not any of those two, another party. You say, but you cannot win. This person who is saying this is somebody who has surrendered, somebody whose mind has been captured by the APC and the PDP, and it's deliberate. The Nigerian political class have made Nigerian citizens believe that they, the politicians, the traditional politicians, are inevitable. You have nowhere else to go. You've got to come to us. Before, it was only the PDP. And then there was a family quarrel, and there was a schism, and the APC was created. But it's still the same family. And that's why you see people crossing between the two parties at will. There's no ideology, there's no philosophy. Yet, you find educated Nigerians worshiping these same politicians. And they will tell somebody whose mind has been liberated that you're wasting your time. You're being foolish. So this is how the oppression works. Oppression, first of all, dehumanizes you. The first thing it does to you as a follower is that you're made not to value yourself. And once you do not value yourself, you will take anything from the oppressor. He will flog you, he will cheat you, he will take anything you have. You cannot complain. Inevitability of that oppression that is going on. This is what we're seeing in Nigeria, and it is a failure of followership. It's not just a failure of leadership, which we have seen and we all know, but it's a failure of followership. Because why do the politicians come to buy votes? They come to buy votes because your votes matter. So if your vote matters, why are you not using your vote to get better leadership for yourself? Why are you not using it to get accountability? You are giving yourself excuses to keep voting for the same people that have put us in the mess that we are, because you have devalued yourself, but you don't know it. You've gone to school. You may be driving a Mercedes-Benz in Lagos. You may live in Ikoyi. But you have still devalued yourself. Why? Because the fact that a few people are living a good life doesn't mean anything when the rest of the society has gone to the dogs. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before people become so dispossessed, so angry, so poor, that they may have no other choice in order to survive but to attack our gilded cages. So you're being very short-sighted when you think as a middle-class professional that is successful, it doesn't concern me. I'm doing well. What's my own? So long as I can put Gary on the table for my family and myself, politicians, yeah, they're just a bunch of crap. Oh, well, what's my own? Once you have this attitude, you are part of the problem. As a follower, you're not exercising your responsibility as a follower. So the reason people buy votes is because votes matter. They use those votes to legitimize themselves. So let's say that followers were to say, look, enough is enough. We look at, are we not God's children? Like people in Dubai, people in Germany, people in Singapore and Malaysia, poor countries that have been transformed. Many of them did not have democratic systems. But they had good leaders. But the point is that we have a democratic system, we have bad leaders. But a democratic system puts power in the hands of followers. So if followers decide to band together, and the first thing they'll tell you in Nigeria, but APC and PDP have the structure. So we have been reduced as human beings to worship a structure and the ability of politicians to leverage that structure to keep themselves in power. But we are not demanding good governance. We are not demanding accountability. We are not voting for people who can give us good governance and give us accountability. No. We have been devalued in our minds to always want to be part of, quote unquote, the winning bandwagon. Who will win the election? That is where I will vote. So you're interested in winners of elections who cannot govern you. You don't have electricity. Insecurity is rife. The value of life in Nigeria today is meaningless. The economy has tanked completely. Poverty is rising by the day. Our young people have no future, no hope, no jobs. But you're still worshiping a structure. I will vote for APC, I will vote for PDP because they have structure. You have failed to realize that now you be the structure. You and several other citizens like yourself can turn yourself into a structure for something else that is new, different, and can give you what you desire as a citizen. So this is the duty of followers. First, we must liberate our minds. Second, we must assert our humanity. We matter. Third, we must act on that belief politically, democratically. And if we do, the heavens will not fall. That's what happened in France. After centuries of a two-party system, Macron came out with something new and they followed. It happened in the United Kingdom when the Lib Dem became a political party and started winning elections. It happened in Mexico when Feliz Obrador broke out from the two-party system and formed a third party, and he won in 2018 or 2019. It is possible in Nigeria. I believe it. That's why I'm a member of the third force that is emerging. I could have joined politics in 2019 in APC or PDP. I have committed class suicide politically. I'm a bona fide member of the Nigerian establishment by virtue of my accomplishments, the positions I've held in this country and around the world, and the contributions I have made to our country. But I had a moment of epiphany, and I said to myself, the system in Nigeria is stacked against the people. It's not working for the people, it's using the people. So I would like to go a different way. I know it's a difficult decision. It takes a lot of courage. You're all professionals. I cannot earn a living in Nigeria. There is nowhere in Nigeria that I can get a government contract. I'm not looking, but I'm telling you a fact. Why? Because I have chosen not to be part of the APC or the PDP. But thank God, it's possible for me to stand by my belief because I'm an international person also. I'm global and I'm local. I'm glocal, as I say. So I can earn a living with things I do internationally and keep fighting for the poor in our country. I don't have to be doing this. So let me answer the question, why am I doing this? What is my journey that brought me here? 3 or 4 things happened. One, when I was deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, if you had told me that I would today be a politician in this country, I would tell you, you need to go and get your head examined. It just was not in my plans for my future to be a politician. But when I finished at the Central Bank and I was appointed a professor of practice in international business and economic policy at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University in Boston. That's one of the world's top graduate schools of international affairs. That's where the elite are trained around the world and in the United States. People who become heads of states, people who become ambassadors, people who become CIA directors, people who become military generals in the American Armed Forces. All these kinds of people go to the Fletcher School. I'm an alumnus of the Fletcher School. That's where I did my master's. And then I took my doctorate at the London School of Economics. And so it was a great honor, not just to have been admitted as a student and an alum of the Fletcher School, but to end up being a professor at the Fletcher School was a great honor. I was the only Black person on the faculty of the Fletcher School for the 2 years, academic years I taught, full-time. I'm still affiliated to the school, but not full-time because I chose to come back to Nigeria to run this race that I am running. So why did I make that decision? I said to myself, you know what? I'm tired of just being successful for myself. I'm tired of this life. What's the meaning? When I go back to Nigeria and I see the level of poverty that I see in Nigeria. Once I came back and gave a lecture at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. And after the lecture, and I came out and people were swarming around me, oh, very good lecture, and I saw somebody who I used to know, a middle-class person. We were in university together. He was begging me for transport money to get to Surulere. My heart broke. I said, what kind of country is this? So that's one of the reasons. Just the poverty that I see around me breaks my heart. I hate seeing human suffering. And I have a worldview personal to me. And that's one of the reasons I have been so phenomenally successful as a professional and as a leader. Because I believe that I'm God's child too. And I'm entitled to a place under the sun. And so I've competed around the world. By the way, the person introducing my resume said Swaziland. It's Switzerland. So that was just a mistake there. I served in Switzerland, not in Swaziland, but in the United Nations. So, you know, I said to myself, tired of just being successful myself, what can I do for my country to give back? That's one of the reasons I entered politics, because I believe that Africans are God's children too, entitled to a place under the sun. Why are we so poor and every other part of the world is doing well? It's because we have a leadership problem. Yes, I recognize it. But when I got into the political leadership issue to solve the leadership problem, I saw that there is also a followership problem. And so the citizens of Nigeria must take responsibility for the situation in Nigeria today. Stop blaming Buhari and Jonathan and all the politicians. Blame yourself too. When you go and vote for politicians that have been in power for 23 years, and all you can show for it is 4,000 megawatts of electricity for a country of 200 million people. Blame yourself for voting for people who have made sure that you cannot travel on the Kaduna-Abuja highway without your heart being in your mouth. Blame yourself for voting for political parties that have taken, unemployment, our youth, whose future this country really, is supposed to guarantee. Many of them today, we have the second highest rate of unemployment in the world and the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. Unemployment is 33%, youth unemployment is about 55%. I think maybe South Africa might have slightly more, I don't know. So, but we are the ones. 2023 is coming again. Many people will go and vote for APC or PDP. Nothing will change. That's just the fact because of the character of the politicians. So if we as citizens, instead of supporting a third force, people who have brought out themselves to serve the country and bring serious competence into governance, you don't just vote for a party that can win but cannot govern. That's a bandwagon to nowhere. And you're not exercising good followership because you are not holding them to account. So there is a third force emerging. We are forming a merger of political parties. And I am part of it because I see no way out with the current traditional political class. Somebody is saying, why is this third force always attempting to emerge just before elections? Very good question, valid question. But we also have the peculiarities of this country, and we cannot allow the perfect to become the enemy of the good. Perhaps it's best if we form 4 years in advance, yes. But Nigerian citizens themselves don't even take politics seriously until close to elections. And not even many of them do. There were 84 million people registered to vote in 2019. 28 million people voted. What sort of travesty is this? Is this a democracy? No. Elections were held in Anambra State. The voter turnout was 10%. 10% of registered voters elected a governor in Anambra State. So democracy is failing in Nigeria, and we have to face that fact. So the role of the followers is to demand something different from what you're getting, because what you're getting is not working for you. Forgive me. What you're getting is not working for you. So as a follower, as a voter, you need to try and do something different. You need to support something different to emerge as a leadership for you. That's why I talk about the role of the followers. They are the masters in reality. And somebody says, what strategy do you have up your sleeves? Yes, a lot of strategies, and I can discuss them in the Q&A. So the fact of the matter is that we should stop giving ourselves excuses. We can give ourselves a million excuses. The fact of the matter is that if you come out and vote for the right kind of leadership, you will get it. But if you're not voting for the right kind of leadership, if you're giving yourself all kinds of excuses, oh, they have to change the constitution before I can vote, oh, I cannot vote based on the 1999 constitution, that is a joke. Nobody is going to change the 1999 constitution under the current leadership of Nigeria. As a follower and as a citizen, your duty is to vote for somebody as president who has pledged and is willing and has the courage to lead the building of a consensus for a new constitution for Nigeria. You need to put that person in the presidency first before you can demand a new constitution. The man in power in Nigeria today is a former military dictator. You can talk from now until the cows come home. He has a mindset. He's not interested in restructuring. He's not interested in a new constitution. So you're saying that you will not go and vote without now yourself, you do. You need to be more strategic. Vote into office somebody who believes there should be a new constitution. Vote into office people who believe in restructuring. Then you begin the conversation and it can actually get somewhere. So this is what's going on. Forgive me, I'm in a certain situation I was telling you with electricity. So This is, so my leadership journey, as I was saying, again, the poverty, I couldn't stand it. I also went into politics because I saw the limits of being a technocrat. I was deputy governor of the central bank. We did very well in the central bank because the central bank was independent at that time. The central bank today is no longer independent. It's been turned into a political place. That's just the fact, and anybody can see that. So the point is that, but in the other part of the government, outside of the central bank, the fiscal policy, those people are under the direct authority of politicians. And so, no matter how smart you are as a technocrat, if the political leadership is not competent, you cannot go far. The country cannot be transformed. So I decided to move from being a technocrat to becoming a political leader. That's the choice I made. So there were many reasons. These are some of the reasons that took me into politics. So to wrap up, the future of the country is in our hands as citizens who are followers. We can sit down and moan about the leaders. And if we go out in 2023 and vote for the APC and the PDP, we are not honest to ourselves. We are failing in our duty as citizens and leaders to look out for what's in our best interest. The final thing I need to say is illiteracy, absence of political education, and we need to educate a lot of our people who are poor and illiterate in the villages. So political education is important, and we need to do a lot more of it beyond just electoral cycles. This is supposed to be INEC's responsibility, but they are not exercising it. They are even overwhelmed with just the logistics of organizing elections, let alone investing in the manner in which they should. Investing in the manner in which they should to educate Nigeria's voters. So there's a lot of work ahead for us, but let's stop only blaming our leaders. Nigerians need to take responsibility for the situation in which our country is today. Because we voted the people who have put us in this mess. We voted them into office, period. You can give yourself any excuse you like. But we are the voters. And we must, I said that since Nigeria's politicians have refused to change, Nigeria's voters must themselves change in order to have the change they want. That change cannot be brought about by the traditional politicians today. So if you realize that, then you vote for a different set of people to come to office who can reason the way you would like to see your leaders reasoning. And then we can begin to make progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I mean, on behalf of everyone here, that was a great time. I'd like to congratulate you. I'd like to uphold your commitment to nation building and to the kind of change that we're looking at. When we invited you and we told a couple of friends, they said to us, we hope Prof will not come around and tell us about his political journey and all of that. I said, yes. Is it not important? Doesn't it matter? I want to thank you. The chat room is a box with questions. I have some myself, but we're going to give priority to everyone here, and I'm very glad. Ladies and gentlemen, our professionals, captains of industries are here, are people who can make things happen around our country, not just as good leaders and chieftains of industries, but as fantastic followership. I want to thank you on behalf of all of us. Very, very, very emotional, very, very touching. Very real. You've opened up quite a lot of issues that are concerned to Nigerians across tribes, sectors, whatever. And it's amazing that the backdrop of this conversation is lack of basic electricity in a way that is supposed to be the industrial
Exactly.
Industrial hub of the nation. I mean, that's where Innocent is coming out from, and quite a whole lot of industry. It's a sad narrative. It's a sad metaphor. I'm going to start with the question. Yomi Martin was the first to show the first salvo. He said, "Do you think that the new age leaders like you have failed to amass?"
Go ahead.
Have failed to amass reasonable followership because more often the ideologies you propound are often beyond the realities of the common man. That's the first thing. He's saying, Yomi Martin is saying that you are too it's all about, for you, pedagogy, that you are too out there, you are beyond the reach of the people, both in terms of what to talk about and in terms of how you go around it. That's the first one. I think let's just take a couple of them. Why is this so? Why is this so-called, that's international facilities, I don't know who is so-called. Please, we'll be glad if you can put your name. I mean, this is not cloak and dagger. This is an open society, so to speak, the marketplace of ideas. Why is this so-called third force always attempting to emerge just before elections? Does not separate you guys from the mind captors, as you refer to? Maybe it means, doesn't that separate you from the mind captors as you refer to them, the other two parties? It's unfair to blame the followers who have been so impoverished, and so-called top force is unknown. Who are they? Where are they? What is their message? What's their ideology? Nothing will change if you support the unknown top force. That's his opinion. And then I will take the third one, and then you react, and then we'll move from there. What strategy do you have up your sleeves to deepen your collaboration to win? Prof, we'll be glad for you to respond to this important conversation. Then we have people also raising their hands. We'll give them opportunity, but let's run this. Our priority is first and foremost what is put in the chat room. Thank you. We have about how many people we have about 121 people. We're still looking out for more people to join us. Thank you. Of course, some people, Prof had to ask for a change of time, and quite a lot of people are used to the 3 o'clock that we don't set up. But for goodness sake, it's a great thing to have Prof, and he has, as usual, discharged himself. Can you respond, sir?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Let me begin by saying that somebody saying, that I may be too far from the people. That's not true at all. Right now, like I said, I'm in Nnewi, my hometown. I've just attended a funeral there. And of course, there, came in, I was recognized, as happens in many places where I go to in Nigeria. And I came out, the musicians relayed me, started singing, and then we started dancing, and people were videoing. I can send the video and you can share it to your viewers. So, this is a perception that some people try to create simply because I'm an intellectual. It's not a crime to be an intellectual. Absolutely. And I have no apologies to offer to anyone for having gone to school. The reason people think so, some people think so, is precisely because the traditional politicians have made us believe that if somebody has gone to school and is well educated and has ideas, then the person is out of place in the political system. And we have bought into this. But when I talk to the commoners, when I talk to the average Nigerians, I use normal descriptions and normal language that they can relate to. That's what matters. And I do that. Also, you have to understand that right now we're setting up structures across the whole country for my political campaign in 2023. We intend to be in every voting polling booth in this country with our representatives and our campaigners and all of that. That's a structure. So we recognize in 2019, we did not do enough of that, yes. But that was because of many things, financial constraints and so many other things, but we are getting better as we go along. So yes, there is a gap between the people and some of the things that I'm saying because precisely of the pedagogy of the oppressed. But we're trying to, part of my campaign is political education. And that's what we're doing. And we will get on with it very massively from around April, May, and hopefully I get the ticket of my party, the ADC, the African Democratic Congress, or the enlarged third force, if, as we hope, we form in about 3 weeks. Once I am a candidate for the general elections, you go see structure on. You will see, public education and sensitization, and we will take it right into the grassroots everywhere. But also, in most societies, the middle class leads and the grassroots follow. What is the middle class in Nigeria doing about the situation I have described? Nothing, because they're selfish, narrow-minded, self-contented with their success, and they don't care about anybody else. But if the middle class were to say to the villagers and their poor cousins who depend on them, stop voting for these roads, vote for these people, many of them will follow. If our diaspora that send them money to survive, tell them, stop voting for these failed politicians, vote for this new force on the block, many people will follow. So the middle class also has a responsibility. It's not just about the grassroots. So that's my answer to that question. Somebody then asked, sorry, remind me about the last 2 questions.
Your strategy, the strategy of all your slaves. I was talking about that it's looking like political opportunism for the third force to come, to come around it, just like other main political parties.
No, it's not political opportunism. Like I said, Nigeria's democracy is not mature. That's true. And we must recognize that. The whole society is structurally weak. And so the few people who are trying to create a change, even though you can criticize them, like us, validly, but you should also understand the forces we're up against, especially because politics in Nigeria is best played by people who have stolen government funds. All this money that the APC and PDP is using for campaign, where do you think it's coming from? It's our common wealth that has been stolen that is being used. So those of us who have not stolen government funds coming into politics, we're at a disadvantage, quote unquote. Money moves things. So you can blame us, but in blaming us, also be a bit circumspect and understand that the sacrifice we are making is also huge. I could be in APC or PDP. I know what I would have benefited if I chose that path. So, yes, many attempts have been made to form a third force, but sometimes there's a time and chance issue. There's always a time for something to happen. I believe that time is 2023. We were trying too early. Nigerians were not yet tired enough. Some people would even argue as to whether or not Nigerians are truly tired. You still see people defending all sorts of characters, saying they want to be president, and you shake your head. But it's a democracy. If the devil is a candidate, some people are entitled to vote for him if they want. So, yes, so it's a democracy. But you see, that's why political education is essential, so that people make the right and informed choices about how to assess people. Let's use the presidency, for example. How many people know what the functions of a president are? Even among educated people, many people here can bet you, if we take a poll, many people on this forum will tell you, oh, the normal path to the presidency is to have been a state governor.
Yes, or I've been a senator.
Or a senator. Yeah, something to that effect. Yes.
Sorry, Prof, but some people might even say, how can we entrust such a huge responsibility to a man who has never been a local government,
very good.
Local government chairman.
But that's because the people who are saying that do not know the responsibilities of the presidency. There are 4 functions for a Nigerian president. 1, national security. 2, nation building. That means, managing our diversity effectively to create a unified nation, and also building strong institutions. These are the two components of nation building. The economy, 3. 4, foreign affairs. These are the 4 basic functions of the president. Which of these 4 functions is the work of a local government chairman? Which of these 4 functions is the responsibility of even a state governor? A state governor does not manage the national economy. I have. A state governor has no business in foreign affairs. I'm a diplomat. A state governor, his job or her job is not nation building. Most states are mono-ethnic small enclaves. I have managed people, workforces, and teams from 200 countries in the United Nations. I've managed diverse workforces as a central bank governor. So I am experienced with managing diversity far more than any state governor. Except that governor has done something else before coming to the state governor. That's a different thing. But I'm just talking about in the Nigerian political context, people who are just professional politicians. National security. National security. As a United Nations official, I was involved in counterterrorism operations, managing counterterrorism operations. So I've dealt with the kind of situations that we have with Boko Haram and low intensity conflict that's going on in the Northeast and the Northwest. So I am prepared. I am the perfect package for the Nigerian presidency. But many people have gone to school, but they don't realize that because they have been brainwashed to believe that you have to have been a senator or a governor or whatever before you can become president. Nigeria is a unique situation. In America or France, by the way, Macron was not a state governor or local government, So let's not even dwell on this because it's not, but I'm just using it as an example to show the need for political education and how even the middle class themselves misdiagnose the issue. And that's why they support the wrong people. But if you've just listened to what I've said, you can see the logic in it, why I am far more prepared to be president than most traditional politicians. The reason Obasanjo, say what you may about him, you may like him or you may not, but of all the presidents we have had, I think he was the most successful. He never has done anything in his life at the state level. Obasanjo has always been operating at the federal level or at the international level. That's why he was able to be president successfully of a country like Nigeria. Some of the more homegrown and local varieties have not had as much success. So let's understand what the Nigerian presidency means. Look at the economy. Anybody who steps into that office in 2023 and doesn't understand the economic fundamentals and what to do to turn this economy around is a failure from day one. Even if he has been a senator all his life, or a governor, or a local council chairman, all this doesn't matter. He or she is not prepared to address the challenge of the presidency and the country as a nation. So please, let's be guided. Next question.
Yes, Prof. What electoral institution will harvest the efforts of the followers? This is from Ifezobi. Efforts of the followers, especially those who are aligning with the so-called third first, to bring a turnaround to your catalyst of leaders and followers in Nigeria.
I get it. Because somebody also talked about strategy. What is our strategy? How are we trying to practically take power? And this is something I always urge in our discussions in the third force consultations, that jokingly I say, we should send our intellect on a short leave. And when we're in Aso Rock, we can bring it back. For now, we should think like politicians. How do we win? One of the ways you win is by creating coalitions, by creating alliances. That's why instead of individual small parties running for president, we believe it's better for several of those parties to come together and merge into a credible force. 2, there must be a merger, not just an alliance or coalition. CUPP, Coalition of the United Political Parties, did not work in 2019. It failed. But APC alliance, APC merger worked. 4 parties came together, merged, fused. That's why in the third force, we have created a fusion council, whereby a number of political parties will merge into one party. My party, the ADC, is one of them. It may be the adopting party. It's too late to form a new party. So there'll be an adoption by one of the parties. But then when everybody comes into that party, then there may be some restructuring of the party. That's natural. There may even be a change of name or a change of logo. We don't know yet. But we will announce the third force. We hope to announce the third force in early March. And we will educate Nigerians more after that event. Once we launch, then becomes the task of educating Nigerians as to why this is different from past attempts and why this is likely to work at this time. Things are so bad in Nigeria now that you don't need to tell the madman or the deaf man that the market is on fire, because he or she will see people run and will also run. That's where we are today.
Okay,
so,
thank you. Because I mean, the question I have, I don't know how we're going to deal with all the questions, and as we have a couple of answers, I recommend
Somebody said, what electoral institution? Let me address that. There is no other electoral institution other than INEC.
Yeah.
What do we do about INEC? We must continue to put pressure on President Buhari to sign the Electoral Act Amendment Bill.
Right.
If that doesn't happen, I think we should get ready for a lot of trouble in this country.
That's great. Someone is saying, Benjamin O, he said, I recommend you read the Startup Nation, Prof. If you haven't done so, it will help you sell your presidential. I mean, this is an advice, so you can take it on board.
Of course, it's a good one.
John Olule is saying, how do we followers play an active role if we don't have an explicit understanding of the manifesto or the third force seeking to replace the main twin political parties? Does the third force have a clear path in wresting power away from the political elites, as I voted during the 2019 general election, and many of the young and emerging political parties have no candidates beyond the office of the president?
Yes, good question. So the third force, when the new mega party is announced, its manifesto, and once the primaries are held, and we elect somebody who will be the flag bearer of the party, and not just at the presidential level, but governorships, we want to encourage a lot of people to run down ballot races as state governors, as members of the National Assembly, as members of state houses of assembly, and even state councillors. All that process will be launched when the party itself is launched. You cannot put the cart before the horse. You must put the horse before the cart. The election is 12 months away. It's not too soon, but it's not too late. Nigeria's politics is a late-breaking game, and a week is a long time in politics. But once the new mega party is announced, then we will come out with the manifesto of the party. Obviously, you cannot put that out when you haven't even formed the party. You're busy talking about a manifesto. So let's take this one step at a time. All those normal and appropriate questions will be answered at the appropriate time. There's a time for campaigns. Campaigns have not officially begun. When the campaigns begin, parties have to come out with their manifesto, or candidates have to come out with their manifesto, of course, and this will happen.
Okay, thank you, Prof. There's a question by Terry Nwisi. I hope Nwisi, I don't know how to pronounce it very well. It said, are you trusting in the 1999 Constitution that is a fraud? He's calling the 1999 Constitution as a fraud. How do you want to build? It's like, how do you want to build on a document that is it's a fraud? I mean, I'm trying to get his I'm trying to get his question. He said, why will you swear allegiance to a constitution which is a fraud? If you swear allegiance to that constitution, are you not perpetuating the fraud? That's the question.
Maybe I can throw the question back. What's your solution? You want to do a military coup and come up with something new?
Oh my God!
You might want to try that. Might be good.
This is interesting. Okay, thank you, Prof. Chris is saying this discourse has focused on the political class, political leadership. What's your thought on the civil service? The public servant in Nigeria are the fathers and grandfathers of corruption. The electricity problems and fuel crisis are caused by failure of the civil service. As an aspiring presidential candidate, what miracles are you going to perform to solve the corruption problem?
Very good. You see, for you to solve the problem of corruption, you've got to understand the proper context. The way to solve corruption is not to make noise about a war on corruption. No, it is to go to the root causes of corruption. If I am president, I will focus on a proactive approach to fighting corruption. One, education in the secondary schools and even primary schools in Nigeria on ethics. We have to teach our young people what's right and what's wrong. We don't do that. I'd like to do that as president. Two, we'd like to use technology, to put in place processes that can help us minimize corruption down to an absolute minimum level. There's no country in which you will not find corruption. The difference is that in some countries, it's on the periphery. In Nigeria, it's at the core, it's at the center. So, for example, my government as president will have an electronic process of real-time prices database for everything under the sun in the Nigerian market. And if you want to do a government contract, the quotation will be put through this database. Anything that is more than 30% above the price, above the price, the smell, and we'll stop it. I mean, contractors are businessmen and women, they're not NGOs. So they can do 20%, even 30, I don't mind. But anything beyond that, it becomes corruption. Also, 60% of the corruption that takes place in Nigeria is actually legal and official, and it happens through the budgets. So how do we prepare the budgets of the federal government and state governments? As a president, the budget of the federal government, I will subject it to a forensic audit. I will not sign it and submit it to the National Assembly unless and until I have subjected it, I myself as president, to a forensic audit. That audit can be done by organizations like Budget or others, professional people who are skilled in those kinds of things, And please hold on. Let me just take this phone call and yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, hello, Kenneth. I'm on a meeting. Can I phone you after church? How about I phone you? Okay. Oh, well, I'm down on I don't know. My wife is late. Okay, all right, yeah. Sorry, a cousin of mine,
okay,
with whom I was at the funeral in the afternoon, called to be sure that I am home.
Oh, okay.
And he says, okay, he was just checking to remind me that no night outings anymore in this town. Be careful about your security. So I'm grateful for his care. But this is the Nigeria we live in.
That's right.
If it's like this in the Navy, imagine what it is in the Northwest. Imagine what for the people who have these bandits. Imagine what it is in the Northeast. Let's not pretend this country has failed. But back to the question. So I was saying that we will do a forensic audit of budget proposals before we submit them to the National Assembly and weed out all these inflated claims, and because that's where the stealing goes on. Once something is approved in the budget, it's legal. You can't say it's corruption. It's corruption, yes, but you can't. You see what I'm saying? You have endorsed it by one, as president, sending it to the National Assembly. Two, the National Assembly passing that budget. And most times they will include several items of their own, as if the fraud already in the one presented is not enough. There will be an increase in the fraud. So these are the approaches. Then finally, fourth and fifth. Fourth, accountability. Accountability for corruption must be impartial. The fight against corruption in Nigeria is politicized, and it doesn't help it. So when you're truly fighting corruption, it's not the business of the president to be yakketing from morning till night about fighting corruption. It's the institutions that are supposed to be independent and to do what they're supposed to do. They do their work, regardless of whose ox is God. And I will be the first as president to hold the people closest to me under the searchlight. They are the people you must first watch, those who are closest to you, because they are close to power. So people will come to them and may tempt them with corruption in order to get their way. So you cannot look away from the people around you and be looking at somebody else. Start from the people around you. Finally, I believe that the public service, remuneration in the public service must be massively restructured. It doesn't necessarily have to be in terms of cash. That's one area, minimum wage and all that, yes. But there should be a structural incentive package, including social security for people in their old age and retirement. Most corruption in Nigerian public life happens because people want to. We say in Igbo, the one you ate today, that is the one you're going with. You don't know about tomorrow. So that's why people engage in corruption, because they are worried that they will retire from the civil service, no roof over their head, no home. So housing security, basic kinds of economic security, we have to structure it well so that you reduce the incentives for corruption. So this is my attitude to corruption. I've given you about 5 approaches to fighting corruption.
Fantastic, Prof. Akiomaler is asking, is they're quite happy with this interactive session since youth have the highest number of votes that can determine the fate of Nigeria. First, what are the strategy that you have to reach out to the youth so that the apathy of not exercising their civic obligation can be addressed? Second, don't you think the approach of taking over leadership of Nigerian from our ancestor, who will be getting people like you into the National Assembly than starting from the presidential? Basically the summary of it is you have addressed that. Why not start from somewhere else, maybe the National Assembly rather than presidential? But we're talking about, you can address the issue of how do you intend to reach out to the bulk of the young people who make the bulk of the voters.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the young people, the way, I think the most effective way to reach young people, there are 2 ways. One is, by technology, because many young people are very attracted to and use technology. So we have to make use of those things too. I have come out with a 7-point agenda for Nigerian youth, specific to Nigerian youth. And it's available. People can go to Moghalufornigeria.org and see some of my ideas. So we are going to educate young people with those plans we have for them. Also, there's technology, but also there's ground game organization. There are a lot of young people who are in rural areas. They also use technology, but you can also reach them there physically. So we can also reach young people through schools and institutions, educational institutions. So these are various ways and strategies that as the campaign picks up, we will do more and more of these things. Absolutely.
Thank you. Someone is asking that a lot of Nigerians, I think 13 million as at the last count, out of school children. How do you intend to?
That's just such a tragedy. You see, because my primary focus as president will be 3 things: education, healthcare, and innovation and technology. These are the things that can address the future of the youth, which is my primary reason for going into politics, because of the hopelessness that afflicts Nigeria's young people today. So we are going to have to bring that back, those 14 million or 13 million kids. We have to find a way to create a special education system that brings them back into schools to give them skills that they need to have livelihoods. So education is going to be a key focus. I have a detailed, most people, anybody here, if you can, get your hands on my book, Build, Innovate, and Grow. That was my vision for Nigeria and my manifesto in 2019. it still is, because my vision hasn't changed. There may be a few things to be updated here and there, but that book, if you read it, it is a master plan for the transformation of Nigeria. No politician in Nigeria, contemporary Nigeria, has done anything like that. Announced the presidency and the presidential with a book of his vision and how to achieve it. That's the difference between my candidacy or aspiration and that of several others. There's depth in my own thinking. I'm not just somebody who creates narratives on television and through interviews, but when you scratch the surface, there's no depth. No. There is, I have a book out, and of course, many politicians trying to copy my ideas without without giving me credit. It's one of the things you suffer when you actually come into this space with ideas. People who have no ideas will just copy your book and claim that it is there. It's like the government of today. There are a lot of things they copy. Even the idea of this, economic advisory council. It wasn't my book, big. I devoted a whole chapter to it. But you see, when you're not the person who is the visionary, you can copy, but you will not copy well, or you will not do well. Let me tell you a story. I have a child who, when he was very, very young, he did expo in an exam. Are you listening?
Yes, great.
Yeah. He was taking an exam, and he was looking, not expo, but he was copying from the page of the person sitting next to him. And then he copied the guy's name also. You see? So he copied the guy's name. I copied. So people who try to copy me, they never get it right because they are not. But when you elect me, the thing is original and it will flow, it will come out. And even in execution, it will come out right because it's coming from the source of the vision. Next question.
Great, Prof. Well, somebody has asked Ladia Biodun, what are your thoughts on education? Will it be free? What are your thoughts on it? I mean, you want to say something about a whole lot of others are very inspiring, great presentation, by professors like you and academics and all of that, and some also, some professionals. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So on education, like I said, I'm going to be the education president. That should not surprise you because as a professor, I've taught on campuses around the world. And education is what determines the future progress or regression of any society. It's the quality of the young people that are coming out through the educational system. And when we talk about education, it's not just about skills, which should become a very important part of Nigeria's education. In my view, in my presidency, education will be very practically oriented to give young people the skills they need to get jobs or create their own jobs. But also there's education in terms of the worldview, the philosophical education of the Nigerian child. It's very important so that they become more patriotic, so that they become more ethical and are able to see corruption and say no to corruption. These are the changes in the education system need to be very deep. Then we have to invest heavily in education reform. That means retraining most teachers in this country. It's garbage in, garbage out. So if many of the teachers are not of the standard that are competitive with other countries in the world, then your children are automatically at a disadvantage. So we must reform teacher training, very important component of my education reform vision. Then you have the matter of pedagogy. How children learn is important. I would like our education system to encourage more original learning, not just cram and pour, which is what we have. As a professor in the United States, my 100% grade was divided into 60% of, although I was teaching a graduate class, a master's program, but nevertheless, 60% of your original is your original research paper. 20% is your participation, your leadership. participation in class presentations and exercises, so that it teaches people how to work in teams, and how to make presentations and be confident. 20% is your attendance. So if you're out, if you don't come to class, you lose 20% of your marks automatically, except there's a valid reason. So in America, the education is very original. The education is also very philosophical, because when people are in primary school, they're taught about the flag. They're taught about the greatness of America. When I was in America as a graduate student in 1991, I think, I looked around. I could never find a shortwave radio anywhere in the United States. Why? Because they don't want you listening to the BBC or Radio France and all those things. They want you listening to local FM, AM radio, where all you hear is the greatness of America. And that tradition started years ago during the Second World War, because shortwave radio was also used for spying and sending coded messages. So they kind of banned it or made sure it wasn't available. So Nigerians need to be totally mentally reprogrammed. I've got to tell you that. And as a president, I'm going to take that job seriously. That is the job of the Ministry of National, it's supposed to be information, but under me it will become the Ministry of National Orientation. And that job, that entity, not just the National Orientation Agency, might become part of that ministry. But the whole question of information, like you have a certain minister today who is very famous, all he has to do is just come and tell you the government position of things. This is a misuse of government office. What we're going to use that ministry to do is to re-educate and reprogram the Nigerian people to become a nation, not just a country. That's my approach to education. So there are several aspects of education. In Switzerland, when I was in Switzerland as a United Nations official, the Swiss system had, when people come up in secondary school, from their aptitude, you'll see what those who are going into technical and those who are going into the professions. That's vocational skills. But the vocational skills earn just as much as the professionals. And I told the story, I've told it several times, of how my toilet broke down in Switzerland and somebody came to fix it. I opened the door and here he was with a BMW parked outside. In my Nigerian mindset, I could not connect the plumber to the BMW. So I said, whose car is that? He said, it's his car. I said, okay. Inside me, I was kind of a bit confused. Then he did the work. When he finished and gave me the bill, I understood why he could afford a BMW. And I had to pay. So there's dignity of labor, and the skills have value. This is what we need to create in Nigeria. We're gradually moving in that direction, with a lot of people, nobody is a tailor now. Everybody's a fashion designer.
That's right.
So, and that's a gradual move in that direction. We just need to extend it to the hardware of, electrician, plumber, welder, those kinds of things. We lack those kinds of skills in Nigeria. For many of you who live in Lagos, you know that people bring in people from Cotonou and Togo to come do certain types of labor, masonry, and all those kinds of things. When I was in Tanzania as a UN official, I built a house there. Oh my God, the quality, the finishing. And I was talking to a colleague of mine, a senior colleague, who said to me, in fact, the boss, I was at the International Tribunal for Rwanda then, and I was legal advisor and the spokesman. The registrar, Assistant Secretary General at the time, was a Nigerian who happened to be from the Southeast. And he gave me his experience, how he was sending money home to build his house in the village. He came back, he was very annoyed. After living in Kenya and Tanzania for years, where people build beautiful stuff, he came to his house in the village. The socket was twisted. And he called the electrician and said, why is this thing like this? The electrician said nothing. Just walked to the socket, flicked it, the light came on. He said, okay, but the light is on now. What's the Then my boss said, at that point, I wanted to pull my hair out. They said to him, you don't see anything wrong in the positioning of this socket? Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah. That's so what it is. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Currently, Nigeria belongs to a set of cabals. This is not just a myth, but it's a valid fact. That's Adekunle In my opinion, how do we address the cabals beyond just theoretical propositions? And then we'll start bringing this conversation to a close. We can go on and on. We appreciate your time.
That's true. Yeah. Well, on the matter of cabals, you see, I want you to know that every country has cabals. It's just a matter of what those cabals want. In some advanced countries, the cabals, or what you might call the inner sanctum of the establishment, they want their citizens to prosper, but they want to maintain their own influence and privilege. In Nigeria, the cabals want to be not only we the job. Nobody else go job, not only we. So they are very selfish and very short-sighted, and that's the problem. Again, this is where the role of citizens and followers comes in. The reason they're able to wield such disproportionate power, and if you allow them again in 2023, they may install one of their stooges to be president. If the Nigerian people sit down and watch people who have failed in their functions today, they want to be rewarded by becoming president. So it's for the people to say no. We reject this system. The numbers of our votes, if 40, 50 million Nigerians come out and vote in 2023, so apathy is a no-no. We cannot afford to be apathetic. Nobody can afford to sit at home and not get a PVC and go and vote in 2023 because our future as a country depends on it. The 2023 election is about the past and whether we can let it go and move into a different future. It cannot be about recycling the past. So we're going to be telling young people, vote for your future, not for your ancestors, some of whom may be on the campaign trail. But people have to begin to liberate themselves. Nobody will come and do it for you. Oh, I'm sorry. My phone keeps falling down. So, there's got to be a lot of people, the middle class, needs to come out and vote. Young people need to come out and vote. It's not enough. You can like BB Niger. Somebody said Kingsley and all other politicians are after their stomach. I would like to say to you that you are just very bluntly wrong and uncharitable to make that comment. Whoever you are, I reject it, and you have no right to say that. And let me tell you, you don't want to know the sacrifice I made running for office in 2019, including wiping out my pension fund. I have kids. I'm paying their school fees. Have you ever had any record of corruption from me anywhere in this country or in this world? Please save your cynicism and keep it to yourself and let's have a conversation. Please, if you don't mind. Thank you. As I was saying,
yes.
The problem, and it's people like you who will go and vote for the corrupt people in the APC and the PDP, and you come here and be saying Kingsley and after their stomach. I don't blame you. As I was saying, you support corrupt politicians. The people who are trying to change the system, you will challenge them, confront them, and give them a bad name. But you will not challenge some of the political kingpins on this country. They won't even come here to talk to you, but you will go and vote for them.
That's right.
So please, we know your type, and I'm not here to waste my time with people like yourself. Thank you. As I was saying,
Go ahead, Prof.
Yeah, as I was saying, I think, what was I saying? I was talking about the people themselves and why they have to. If we have 40, 50 million votes, right, in the elections in 2023, let's say we have 50 million people vote out of about 90 million people that would have been registered. That's a huge turnout. That's more than 50% turnout. And let's say 30, 35, 40% of them are voting in a particular direction. There's nothing any cabal can do because the people have spoken. The people have spoken. Vox populi, vox Dei. Election rigging is easy when there is very low voter turnout. When a lot of people come out and vote, they vote in a particular direction, it becomes very difficult to rig the election. So that's my point. Yeah, responsibility of the followers. Because some of us and others are out there trying to talk about, trying to galvanize people in the right direction. But you can take a horse to the stream, but you cannot force it to drink. That's the point. You see, you can take a horse to the stream, but you can't. If the people themselves refuse to be liberated or to liberate themselves, it doesn't matter how high-minded or how much of a sacrifice you think you're making. They will remain in their current state. The point for me is this: I don't need to be doing what I'm doing. I am somebody with an independent means of livelihood. Like I said, my livelihood is planned outside of Nigeria. I don't earn any livelihood in Nigeria, really, because I'm an opposition politician. So the government would not patronize me. And Nigeria's economy is mostly a government-driven economy. That's the truth. That's why even the private sector in Nigeria is not independent. Unlike it is in various other countries where they can say, we want something new. This government has not performed on the economy. The traditional political class is not creating a good business environment. We need to bring in people who understand how to manage the economy better. But you'll see many of them still following government selected candidates because they want to be close to the system and to continue to benefit from it. Yeah. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much, Prof. It's been a great time of dialoguing with you, and you've opened up the issues of the importance of scholarship in this entire in our entire political process, so that we can end up where we actually desire to be, because the leadership deficit in Africa, particularly Nigeria, it's no longer news, and we're all feeling all of this. And I think it's also important to make people know that you can hold a different opinion, from people. But when you come to a marketplace of ideas, you express yourself, with respect to other people's opinions.
Exactly.
That's
somebody is a politician doesn't mean that you're entitled to be insulted in a public forum. It's not. A lot of our people are very upset.
Absolutely. So I mean, we want to say a huge thank you to you, Prof, for finding time, because I know that you have to find time out of your busy schedule, not just as an intellectual, just like you told us, but as a politician. And it's the schedules of politicians are very punishing. We must say that we sincerely wish you all the very best. Is in the interest of everybody on this platform, entrepreneurs, leaders, academics, professors, professionals, thought leaders, that have joined us for this discussion, to this conversation, to have a country that we can be happy to call our own, and a country where our children and grandchildren can grow, and we can rest our peace as we build a better nation, because we have not had that in so many years now. I want to say a big thank you, a big thank you for your time, and if God permits, with your schedule, there might be another opportunity for a conversation as robust as this. Thank you very much, and I want to say a huge thank you to the Touchstone team. Once again, this is Touchstone Business Sustainability Series, and this is the leadership conversation end of it. I want to say a huge thank you to my team members, my friends, and my colleagues that have made this happen. Next one is in 2 weeks' time. We now hold these ones in 2 weeks, and I can tell you we're going to bring another speaker who's going to open up issues that are of sustainability, not only to business, but to the Nigerian state and the world in which we all live. Prof, I can't thank you. Dipo Ogundigwe, my colleague Muiwa Alabi, Buki Oluyemi, and the rest of the team, I want to say a huge thank you. I want to say a huge thank you. If I start mentioning names, I'm going to leave some unmentioned. We've had, at the peak of this, I think we have about 125 people. Prof was asking me, what's your projection? And I said 150. I actually thought we'll be able to reach that, but I mean, it's been a very good conversation. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. And
you've inspired us. Believe you me, you've inspired someone like me as an employer. I don't want to get personal here, but I'm sure there will be opportunities to continue to connect with you, towards. And then once again, we wish you all the best, and we wish the nation of Nigeria, to which we all belong or we're associated one way or the other, all the very best. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All the best, Prof. Thank you. We're going to bring this to a close, and I want to thank you all for joining us. Bye for now.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you.